Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now.
Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadtoruda.com. It is Sunday night, the 6th. Wanted to just chime in on something that I had brought up a while ago and hadn't shaken out, and that's the bank failure that we had last Friday. There was not one this Friday, at least that they declared. But I did a little sleuthing into the last bank failure, and I found out some interesting things. But first of all, also interesting, after the close on Friday, the U.S. Mint exploded with supposedly sales on Friday, which put them in July at 2 million Eagles. Now, the Eagle premiums have come down, right on track with what Jack Sermon, the head of Silver Eagle Sales, told me in an interview that you guys need to listen to. Go to roadtoruda.com to listen to that interview. He said they were going to increase. He was allocated 4 million more ounces, mainly because I think Ventris Gibson and the people running the mint are getting so much pressure because the whole world knows the fraud that they're pulling over there at the mint. They're supposed to make Silver Eagles in quantities to meet demand. They are choosing not to. They are telling their people, make as few as you can. That is not believe it or not, that's not in the law. So I think they're getting a little heat. They increased 4 million. So this 2 million that they just bumped up to should get them up to, I think by the end of the year, if they stick to that 4 million number, it'll be about 18, potentially 18 million coins, about less than half of what they should be doing. Now, Ventris Gibson, in 3 separate occasions, including the annual report, has said they've greatly expanded the Silver Eagle production lines. Excuse me, Ventris? You did. Where are those Silver Eagles going is what I want to know. And I did find out one little thing. It's a little thing, but to me it's important. Because I had talked about the back of the new redesign of the Silver Eagle. The back of the eagle has the back of the coin has the eagle coming into the nest with an oak branch adding to the nest. David Ryder, the guy who was in charge of the redesign, kept saying adding to the nest. It's adding to the nest, as in they're making the Silver Eagles. They're just not giving them out to the public. They're adding them to what will be implemented as the future money. But an interesting thing is they changed the gold eagle from a gold eagle adding to the nest. So they had it's a bald eagle, but they had the eagle adding to the nest prior to the change, and now they just have the eagle's face. So maybe they aren't making any more. Maybe they've been making gold eagles adding to the nest because they have so much damn gold. I absolutely am convinced beyond belief that the United States of America has maybe 100 times what they say, even more than that, of gold ready for implementation. And if you go to Road to Ruda, you can check out all my research, the gold in the Grand Canyon, the gold at Chocolate Mountain, gold all over the world. And the U.S. has been preparing for this for a very long time. Many countries have, I believe, but the U.S. especially, because we do have all this gold that they have uncovered. And it was a hush-hush secret thing. The reason for allowing the Federal Reserve to happen was because they found billions and billions of ounces of gold. Mainly within the Grand Canyon, but it's all throughout the banks of the Colorado River right now. All you need is a price of gold to be allowed to be freely traded. I don't know where gold should be right now. I would guess $30,000, $40,000 an ounce. Clearly not the $2,000 an ounce. And that's not the fault of gold. That's the fault of all the unbacked fiat money that's been printed around the world. Some people take the amount of gold the U.S. says they have, 8,200 tons, 8,200 tons, 8,100 tons, something like that, and then use that and divide it by the national debt or whatever you want to do. That is just a tiny fraction of what we're looking at. The global printing of money. And even the U.S. dollars are not the only form of money. There's money derivatives like stocks and bonds and derivatives of derivatives of derivatives, quadrillions of dollars of things that take the form of money in certain markets, that should be calculated into the value of gold and silver when this change happens. And the change will happen because of a failing bank, by the way. But first, again, the CFTC came out with the commitment of traders numbers came out, and it was as expected. They did exactly, the riggers did exactly what they do every time. The Fed is the number one regulator of the banks. These are banks doing the rigging. This CFTC is the number one regulator of the commodities. And then you have the OCC, the number one regulator of OTC commodities, OTC derivatives, over-the-counter derivatives that aren't traded on the COMEX. So you have three regulators that are colluding to rig the price. It's crazy. But they did the exact same thing. Remember the slam down. Now this is for the week ended as of Tuesday of last week. Wednesday was a big slam down. So these numbers will even improve. Improve meaning the big manipulators are able to whittle down their short position while the managed money goes deeper and deeper, sells off longs, and builds their shorts. That's exactly what happened. Everything was as predicted. It'll happen again when they release the report next Friday because Wednesday, Thursday, Friday were big slam days for these same assholes. It happens over and over. The thing that I was looking for, I was hoping didn't happen, is that the 50 million ounce whale who got added on wouldn't sell off that 50 million ounces or go short or anything like that. And that is what happened. And which coincided with the 50 million ounce short. So there's an individual long and an individual short. That's where the real blood is happening. They didn't do anything practically. So they still, the big managed money short on the top shorts is 50 million ounce short, an individual company. I think it's BlackRock. That's my guess, because they don't have the same reporting that the banks do. And then the long, a lot of people saying it's China. Could be. It could be Elon Musk. It could be Warren Buffett. I'm thinking it's Warren Buffett. But Elon is no dummy. I hear Elon sniffing around a bunch of silver mining companies to just buy them out. I don't know. That's a rumor. Don't run with it. But he's clearly not an idiot, and he clearly understands what silver means to his company. You notice he rarely says anything about silver. Just think about his companies, how much silver he's going to need in the future if his company's going to work. Solar panels, massive amounts of silver. Electric cars, massive amounts of silver. Those are the two big ones that are just exploding every year, higher and higher and higher. And Elon knows. So what would you do? You would secure as much silver as possible, physical silver. Let them be happy about them rigging the price. But get your hands on as much physical silver as you can so that you have the silver. I mean, you'll make money, obviously, on the appreciation of the silver, but you'll have to, in order to keep your car company running, you're going to have to jump up the price of the cars. Let's just say silver goes to $3,000 or $4,000 an ounce. How many ounces are in a Tesla? Nobody really knows. They say like 1.5. I think it's more like 4 or 5. Some people saying 20 or 30. Nobody really knows. And what does the future hold for battery technology? All that. The amount of silver going into every car today versus every year prior is the most ever and increasing. And this is not electric cars. This is just your regular standard car, because more and more electronic functioning goes on with these new cars. And the more and more electronics you have, the more and more silver consumption you have. So I'm hearing now it's at least an ounce, half an ounce to an ounce, depending if it's an SUV with a lot of gadgets or a smaller car, half an ounce to an ounce in each car, with 1.5 to 2.5 ounces in each electric vehicle. Tesla's probably more because there's a lot more gadgets. There's a flat screen TV, for Christ's sake, in every Tesla. So, yeah, that's where we are. As expected, the numbers are there. If the CFTC ever wanted to bust JP Morgan for doing what they do, they do it. They collude, obviously. What they should go after is Virtu Financial. Virtu Financial runs the game. A guy named Vinny Viola runs the game of high-frequency trading in all markets right now. And the banks just, they say, oh, here you go. Help us out with this, and this. So this is what's ending. So I will keep an eye on these for you guys. Ted Butler does an amazing job. Go to butlerresearch.com and sign up for Ted's information if you want to really dig deep into who it is, how they're doing it. He won't go down the conspiracy path, although the week before last, he actually said the government is involved. I've been screaming that for, 15 years. Ted has always said, no. They don't need to be involved. It's about profit making. Well, now it's not about profit making. These shorts are losing. These banks are losing money. They don't do things to lose money unless something else is going on. So, and the regulators are clearly not doing anything. Ted has finally come around to say, yes, the government is involved, which brings up a whole nother can of worms of whether or not you trust your government. Should you pay your taxes or not? Stuff like that. That will be a legitimate question throughout the next few months as the system falls apart. And you'll ultimately say no because you won't have a bank account to do that. Get your money out of the banks. Get it in your own possession. Silver, number one investment by far. Silver will do so much better than cryptos at the beginning because silver's been price suppressed for 170 years. I have many Road to Ruin people are going to, at some point, take some of their silver and buy every crypto they want to buy. Cryptos are about the future. Silver's about the right now, in my opinion. Anyway, so let's go to this bank that closed up 2 Fridays ago. And the most important thing is that they're not telling you why. They're saying it's a scam. They're saying it's a scam. Apparently, Heartland Tri-Bank closed just, quote, because of a scam. Kansas State Bank Commissioner David Heartland expressed apparent relief as he disclosed the closure of Heartland Tri-State Bank due to a scam they fell victim to. Quote, we declared the bank insolvent because of a scam that they fell victim to. I can't speak to the particulars of that. Investigations are going on, but it had nothing to do with interest rate increases, nothing to do with balance sheet quality, nothing to do with the Fed. Those are the 3 things that that they are afraid of you thinking. They're afraid of you thinking, oh, the interest rate increases, which they did. You look at the second quarter, the FDIC is about to declare what really happened. It's going to be bloodbath come the end of the month. And then balance sheet qualities had nothing. This is such a lie. Because this bank was having balance sheet quality issues, interest rate issues, and Fed issues for 2.5 years. So he's lying. And you notice it's the state bank commissioner, not the FDIC. The FDIC usually declares this stuff. Look at it, a $54 million hit for the FDIC, which is a massive hit, much higher than the amount of unsecured depositors. It makes you think, hey, how many unsecured depositors got bailed out by the FDIC? Is that why they're not publicizing this? The bank had approximately $139 million in total assets and $130 million in total deposits. FDIC estimates that the cost to the deposit insurance is $54.2 million. That's crazy. What is that, 40%? Imagine that, 40% of the total assets. JP Morgan's got what, 3.5 trillion? Would that be 2 trillion in assets that JP Morgan, the FDIC would have to bail out JP Morgan for if JP Morgan had this problem? And by the way, how do you get scammed for $54 million when your total assets are $139 million? Is that even possible? It's more than baffling until you dig a little deeper. Turns out the Financial Times was on this. They're not telling the Financial Times. Here's their article. Don't worry, it was just a scam. You got trouble, big trouble here in Eckhart, Kansas. It isn't often that an official says with apparent relief that a bank in their remit closed because it was scammed. Here's what Alphaville told, that's the FT, was told by Kansas State Commissioner David Heartland when we called about the closure of Heartland Tri-State Bank. And I just read this. We declared the bank insolvent because, I guess he read the exact same Exact same thing he read to the other publication that called. We declared the bank insolvent because of a scam they fell victim to. I can't speak to the particulars of that. Investigations are going on, but it had nothing to do with the rate increases, nothing to do with balance sheet, and nothing to do with the Fed. All right, if you are a bank and you fell for the probably the most significant, as a percentage of what their investments are, scam in the history of banking. A bank got scammed out of 40% of their assets. Scammed. Wouldn't you be screaming to every bank on the planet, look out for this? Look out for this scam. And what scam could possibly be that? Did somebody have $54 million in money that was just sitting there? How could they be scammed out of all that money? All that money was out on loan. You can't get scammed out of a standalone scam. You can't be scammed out of 40% of your money if you're a bank, because all your money is out there with your customers and invested in whatever investments you have. I think it was 40% or 50% was out in loans to people. What did they do? And where are the regulators? Were the regulators in there sitting on the desk like JP Morgan? The regulators were sitting on the trading desks of JP Morgan while they were rigging the silver market. So the regulators were in on it. FT goes on to say, Heartland Tri-State Bank was a very small institution with just $139 million in assets. It was purchased by Dream First Bank, a bank with $511 million in assets based in Syracuse. Notably, the closure's cost to the FDIC insurance fund is $54 million, eclipsed the size of its entire $48 million loan book. Heartland's small size may be why some news outlets don't look too closely, but instead settled incredibly quickly on a banking crisis continues angle for its closures. While Heartland was indeed the first bank in nearly 3 months to fail, it is difficult to find much or really any similarity between it and SVB, Signature Bank, First Republic, or Silvergate. Here's a helpful snapshot of Heartland's balance sheet. Number one, it had high share of uninsured depositors. Nope. More than 70% of Heartland depositors were backed by the FDIC as of March 30th. But that still leaves 30%, which is $40 million. Unrealized security losses, not much. Heartland had $7.6 million in unrealized security losses at the end of March. Now, granted, like I said earlier, the difference between December, because they report this quarterly, December, where treasuries rates were going through the roof, versus the first quarter when they got slammed down, we are back above what December had. So that will be much bigger, but not up to $40 million. Or $54 million. What's more, of its securities were characterized as available for sale and therefore marked to the capital account, which had some more than $8 million in remaining equity as of the end of March. So it doesn't look like that was the problem. That likely grew in the second quarter, but not by much. Almost all of the bank's securities were in mortgages secured by government-based insurers. Interesting. So it wasn't that. Deposit run? Nope. The FDIC said that at the time of its closing on Friday afternoon, Heartland had $130 million in deposits, which is exactly how much the bank reported it had 3 months ago at the end of March. So nothing had changed on the books, according to the last quarterly report with the FDIC, which showed that deposits at the bank weren't all-time highs. Cryptos, no sign of it. Heartland may be under no sign of cryptos. Heartland may be under additional pressure. Now, here's where it gets good. That was unrelated to scams, of course. In May 2022, Heartland Tri-State CEO Sean Hayes was quoted in the American Banker article that a 1-2 punch of inflation and long-term drought was hurting farmers. We are under severe, severe drought. That was as bad as we have ever seen. Haynes was until recently the chairman of Kansas Bankers Association. His term was supposed to end later this week at the Kansas Bankers Association annual meeting, which happened just this weekend, which is being held in Colorado Springs. But Hayes left the Kansas Bankers Association directors in the past few months. A KBA spokesman declined to say exactly when or comments as to why. Back in May, Haynes was quoted in the American Banker on the impact of Silicon Valley Bank failure would have on Kansas banks. His answer was, "Meh, I think for most of us it's become irrelevant. This year most likely won't be as good as 2022, but we're open for business and generally positive." Okay, let's find out about this schmo. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Mr. Haynes. Sean Haynes. So I did a little look at Sean Haynes. And here's something interesting. So in December of 2020, so we're back, 2.5 years ago, they were talking, the Farmer AC was talking about low commodity prices continuing to haunt agricultural lenders. Sean Haynes, he's quoted right here with a few other bankers. Everybody says, yeah, things are kind of bad. Things are kind of bad. Technological advance. Ryan Cox of CBI Bank says, technological advances in every area of agriculture have made us very efficient in producing these commodities. The increased supply we've seen in the last 5 years has pushed commodity prices lower. Well, the market rigging on the COMEX pushes the prices lower and forced farmers to cut expenses about everywhere. However, there are no more expenses that can be trimmed and commodity prices continue to drop. It can make for pretty difficult decisions. Here's what Sean Hayes had to say, and this is interesting. This is 2.5 years ago. Sean Hayes, the president and CEO of Heartland Tri-State Bank, says, quote, a farmer would basically have to sell 100% of his production at the high every year to be profitable. That is simply never going to happen. We constantly look at all options for each producer, which includes restructuring, FSA guarantees, Farmer Mac to obtain long-term fixed-rate financing, and sometimes liquidating some assets or all assets. Fortunately, land prices have remained stable. Here's the big one. Overall, net worth of the financials has increased for most producers each year. However, working capital and debt coverage has declined considerably. Thus, we have viable options, but all take time and patience. Both bankers and producers need the same patience from regulators as these restructuring plans unfold. For us, while regulators do expect to see a realistic restructured plan, they have afforded us the patience to allow this restructuring process to occur. Basically, they've been going bankrupt for 2.5 years. And the regulators knew it and couldn't do anything about it or didn't do anything about it. They waited to the last second and then pulled the plug. The scam is the regulators knew about this thing going on for over 2.5 years. That's the scam. That's the only way this bank could have lost so much money that the regulators had to pony up, 40% of all the assets of the company. And the FDIC had to bail out uninsured depositors again without telling anybody. So they structured a sale to this crazy bank called, what's the name of that bank again? Dream Bank. It's so ridiculous. What a ridiculous. It's kind of like they're messing with us. Dream Bank. Where is it? Where is that bank? Oh my God, it's so funny. Dream Share Bank. Dream First Bank. Dream First Bank is taking over. So they restructured their hair. You take it over. So the FDIC washes their hands of it. Small bank, nobody cares, right? Oh, by the way, you're taking over the entire bank. It all goes over to you. And we're going to give you $54 million. You get $138 million in assets, but it's going to cost us $54 million to do this. So they had so much shit going on in their books over the last 2.5 years. And the regulators knew about it, but the reason they want to keep it quiet is they don't want you to know that every bank is exploding. They don't want you to know. So that's what I think went on. It's not a one-off incident. It's been going on for years. And it has to do with everything. And, oh, by the way, I think the reason they're sweeping this under the carpet is because they are 100% are bailing out unsecured depositors. And they don't want you to know it. That's a no-no. Anyway, go to roadtoroot.com for more. On the private road, Friday I posted Silver Riggers knee-deep in the world of Jeffrey Epstein. Check that out. Very, very, very important. You want to know when Silver is going to break free? keep an eye on that mother plucker and his board of directors. It's really big and really ugly. Go check that out at roadroad.com. Lots of great stuff there. Jenny Moonstone discussions are just off the charts. She's just nailed everything. Go check it out. This is Bix Weir. I'll talk to you later.